the more I play this opening, the more I realize that dealing with the Jobava London is like navigating a room full of Lego in the dark. Or pretty much like trying to wrestle a cactus. I know what you're thinking. This guy's totally exaggerating. Well, I wish I was. Because in today's video, I'm gonna be showing you how you can easily demolish 2100 rated opponents by applying simple fundamentals that are gonna work in the vast majority of your games if you are around 1000 elo. So for that, I'm gonna be walking you through 4 games that I played on my speedrun account. Let's not waste any more time and dive right into the action. Alright everybody, we got ourselves a game. 2100 opponent from Iran. That looks like Iran. Iran. I don't know how you pronounce that in English. But he goes knight f6, so knight c3, threatening e4, and yeah, we see d5 stopping us from expanding. We get the starting position of the Jobava London, and yeah, let's see. Is it gonna be a bad light square bishop, or he's gonna get stormed? When he plays with c6, yeah, that's the sort of Slav move order. Stopping any knight b5. I'm gonna get started with e3. Important move. You do not want to rush by playing knight f3. You want to keep options to meet any bishop out. Yeah, bishop f5 or g4. You meet it the same way with f3. Having he played e6, then you do a bit of a different development. Bishop d3, knight f3, castle, and look for the e4 push. But on bishop f5, yeah, as I was saying, whenever you see the bishop landing on f5, that will trigger the f3 move and ready to start marching down the pawns. And yeah, let's see. Normally, the pawn storm is just a free win, but we get interesting... very interesting position, so please feel free to pause the video and yeah, think about how would you react on this knight h5 move and try to find, let's say, a way, if possible, if you can do it, to save the bishop. Or if perhaps there is anything better than to do that instead. So think about it, pause the video, already move 6 very important stuff. So I have to say, this is not something that I've prepared. I don't think I ever faced this before, but instantly it seems that, well, there's a bit of a problem with these pieces. My first instinct was that, okay, simply bishop g5 and then try to save the bishop. Yeah, hide it on f2. But I'm like, wait a second. Isn't bishop b8 and then g4 just winning a piece? I think that is the answer. So bishop b8, all of a sudden move 6, we're completely winning. And important to take on b8 first. Specifically aimed to go for the fork, otherwise we would never make such trade. And it's important because g4, he had knight f4. And if you take, the knight returns to h5 and that achieves nothing. But this one, yeah, just wins a piece. I mean, he voluntarily gives up on it, but wants to do queen h4. Now, I could actually take any of these pieces and be okay. Probably I want to stay away from check, and then whenever the king moves, seems to be some knight g3 type of business. But I'm wondering, okay, I mean, these pieces are forked, they're not running anywhere. Am I in time to just play something like queen d2 so that on the check there is queen f2? So we block the check and he's still dealing with the fork. Yeah, I think that's honestly pretty reasonable. Maybe it's not the most accurate move, but it definitely feels like the most human to me. And yeah, let's see. If bishop e7, I'm just gonna castle. I'm just really in no rush. You're still forked. There's no way to escape that, so yeah. Man, who would have thought that 2100 rated opponents get melted instantly in the pawn storm. That's, yeah, honestly pretty wild. A lot of people like, maybe not a lot, but a few think that I'm overhyping this opening, that, it's nothing special. I just like to play it and I recommend it. But seriously speaking, like, so many games, move 8 against 2100, 2200 elo guys. White is completely winning. What other opening can you really use to achieve the same effect? Like, come on, you can't look me in the eyes and tell me that we're gonna get something like this in the Catalan, or I don't know. You're genuinely just lying to yourself and you know it. So, yeah, Bishop E7, as I said, it's very funny, but these pieces are still there. I'm just gonna avoid the check, yeah, make sure no counterplay and casually cashing in the piece. Opponent really, yeah, I mean, is gonna get 1 pawn for the piece, but that's pretty much about it. And yeah, let's see. Man, this is actually such a funny trap that we managed to get. It wasn't even like prepared. It's rare that you get such a specific spot, but it was very funny. So I had the backup bishop g5, but then I looked at this better move. But still, okay, I shouldn't be relaxing. That's the worst mistake you can make, to think that the game is already won. Okay, now we have interesting decision to make. Logically, when you have a choice between taking a knight or bishop, the bishop is the slightly more important piece. And in this position, it's also like creating an isolated pawn. If he takes, plus the knight is stuck on the edge. And now important, okay, how do you recapture on d4? With the queen or with the pawn? Pause the video and think about that. It could potentially be the last critical moment of the game. And if you thought, okay, the answer is to recapture with the pawn, congratulations. You have managed to completely mess up the game, because after bishop g5, black wins the queen and you can resign. So queen d4 by elimination, the better move. And what can I say? You don't even deserve a wooden spoon for that. Yeah, we need to bring back the wooden spoon. Actually, I don't know what happened to my wooden spoon. I think my mom came at some point and cleaned my office, and then my mom has stolen my wooden spoon. That's actually a pretty likely scenario. That's actually something that, could have happened. So we need to bring it back. I need to give her a call. Okay. Now, jokes aside though, he has castled. Can I take? Just genuinely chipping away his pawn structure. Then looking for maybe queen g4, a double attack. Yeah, why not? I like free pawns. Queen here. Beep boop. We take e6, then we take d5. Oh man. Okay. Yeah, well, really not that much to add. Ideally though, I'd love to develop some pieces, so I can go for the greediness. But I don't think we really need to play it greedy. Like, imagine he takes with a knight and then... Okay, so let's say take with a knight, rook d5. He needs to stay close to the bishop. Yeah, actually taking is too strong. I mean, I don't want to play greedy, but this is just... his position is completely falling apart. So we have to go for it. Take with the rook and has to stay close to the bishop. Also no queen a5. Queen a5 usually to counterplay, but obviously rook covers that. He has to do queen e8, but he's gonna be pinned. Yeah, just a tragic scenario for my opponent, really. Pretty crazy, just like that. There are so many traps in the Jobava, even after I played, like, I don't know, 5,000 games. I would say more like close to 7,000 games at this point. Even after that amount of games, I don't know all the traps. And I also watched way more games than I played, especially for the research. But Queen E8, yeah, I would just like to play something like Rook D7 to pin him. I want to force this bishop to move so that we can get a queen trade, which is similar to resigning for my opponent. And if Rook F7, well, that's going to be pinning here again. It's going to be a DP. And I think we even have Bishop C4 to deflect the Rook. Probably less evil to play Bishop C5, but then I trade. Takes with the Rook, and then I play E4 to save the pawn. Okay, yeah, Rook F7, but as I said, Bishop C4. Developing and gaining a tempo. And yeah, honestly, this is looking pretty good. Wow. Yeah, it's still mind-boggling to me that we managed to find a trap that I was not aware of. I have genuinely gone very deep on all the in and outs, but yeah, let's check a quick game review and go back to that moment. Yeah, okay, just quick question. What if he tries to do something similar but in this version? Yeah, okay. So this is a spot that I have encountered in the past, right? Knight h5, and notice that because this is no longer the Slav, we don't have that bishop b8 idea anymore. But of course, you can do what I had as a backup. Bishop g5, and then if he goes overly aggressive, you can keep. And then, okay, you have g4, h4 idea, bishop d3, take with the queen, knight e2, long castle. You basically play a standard pawn storm, but the pawn on g5 is gonna be a hook. So yeah, I think that should pretty much clarify this early knight h5 in the pawn storm in pretty much all variations possible. And with that being said, I think we can move on to the following game. All right, everybody, we are facing the big boys. 2200 rated opponent from Indonesia, it seems. Okay, account created not long ago. So I don't know what they expect, but let's see. Okay, gonna be attempting to play Jumbava London. Fingers crossed. Knight c3, yeah, threatening e4, forcing most of your opponents to play d5. And when d5 is on the board, finally, okay, only now, that enables the Jumbava London. That enables bishop f4. You don't want to play bishop f4 when he still has opportunity to play d6. Because that's creating this block of pawns that are really restricting your bishop. So that's why you need to have d5 to get a good Jumbava. So the bishop is happy. Okay, c5 instantly. Very few people play this move. I'm gonna go e3. So important. Knight b5 is bad because the knight is unprotected, and then he has check. And going dc is also bad because he has d4, and you don't have a good square for the knight. Same knight b5, queen a5 problem. So you have to play e3 in this position. And yeah, most people make the mistake of resigning immediately after knight b5. Yeah, that's quite funny. It even happens at 2200. Well, what can I say? This mistake is actually the most played move for black with a whopping like 35% in the database. Instead of it, black needs to go first takes and then a6. So a6 right away gives white the good moment to take the pawn. And then after knight c6, a3 is strong move. Because after e5, bishop g5 hits d5 and threatens to play b4. That's a bit concrete. You don't have to remember that really as a beginner. But yeah, most players go knight c6 and then you just win, huh? d5. What are you gonna do with a knight, bozo? Most people end up playing knight e4. Some people also go knight h5. Okay, Question for you. How do you think we should try to save the bishop? Because this is a pretty interesting scenario where black typically plays knight on the edge of the board, trying to eliminate the bishop pair. So think about an antidote. Pause the video. I'll give you a minute. Now, funny thing is, knight h5 easily gets overlooked. Yeah, the queen still covers that square, so you can actually just collect the knight. That's pretty bad, but it still happens, especially in low elo. Now, for that reason, knight e4, but now, okay, we have badak bim, bada boom, queen d5, sacrifice the queen, let's go. And yeah, after all this fake enthusiasm, pretty much will be forcing resignation. There's an idea of queen e4, but okay, the game still goes on, so it's actually quite funny, but despite the position being completely winning, I see people kind of constantly messing this one up. So yeah, maybe it can turn out to be instructive. I have to think about it for a second though. Okay, so important to understand, nothing is being threatened. Like queen d5, still knight c7. So one of the main ways for black to get counterplay after the trade is some knight b4 nonsense. So because there is knight b4 nonsense on the horizon, I might play c3 just to get rid of that move. And well, what is he gonna do? Maybe he does a6. Then I could do knight d6 check. Just saying, that's a move. Also, if c3, yeah, let's just calculate very briefly. Knight c7 check, king d7, knight d5. Maybe some king e6. No, that doesn't work. Yeah, no, it has to be c3. Yeah, c3 should be good. And a6, I can probably just go knight d6 check. So this is very bad for my opponent. Just already completely winning position. Move 7, like +3 according to the computer. Almost like having an extra piece. We have 2 extra pawns. Okay, can I go knight d6? Expecting bishop takes, pawn takes, discovery attack on f5. Most likely forcing bishop g6. Then maybe I have d7 if I wanna force queens off. Yeah, I could do that. Also, you want to watch out for f3 type of idea to get rid of the knight, but as it seems here, knight g5 should be in time. So probably I'm just gonna play knight d6. Was I in time with bishop c4? Probably I should have considered it as well, but yeah, knight d6. I went for the low-hanging fruit. Just getting rid of his bishop. Yeah, winning bishop pair. Then take with a pawn. Gain a bit of a tempo. So let's see. Knight to d6 check. Oh, he took with a knight, so this, it seems that it's a double attack, yeah, but the problem is our queen on d5 is still hanging, so technically we're not threatening to collect yet, but I mean, we have other ideas as well. No, this is just really bad for my opponent. I can just take. He's gonna play bishop f6. But I think, yeah, taking, collecting free pawn can hardly be a bad idea. That's also what I'm telling myself at night when I visit the fridge. You know, it can hardly be a bad idea to have like 5 ice creams. No, come on, like I didn't hear stories of anybody dying from eating ice cream during the night. Come on, that's nonsense. Okay. Bishop f6. Yeah, I think just develop with tempo. Bishop c4. Additionally, I could also play knight f3, but knight f3 doesn't have the same impact. Like bishop c4 has a concrete threat. And especially when we already have the extra material, we prioritize trades. So bishop c4 kind of fits that list a bit better. Also, it's very much possible that both moves were equally good. He castles. Now, I want to be cautious though, because knight f3 already, he may have some tricks like b6. And if I take on c6, there is going to be rook c8. And if I move the queen, then he takes my bishop and I cannot castle. It gets a bit complicated. So because b6 is annoying, yeah, like the problem is these pieces are a bit stuck together. I'm seriously considering to just take. And I'm not afraid of opening up his rook. I don't think he's going to be able to leverage any pressure thanks to that. Okay, e5. Can I... I mean, first of all, I can just take it. Second of all, I can check. Third of all, I can probably just play bishop g3 as well and be fine. Do I want to grab another ice cream on e5? That's the question. I already had two. Is there room for the third one? Take, take. Take, take. Come on, guys. You know what they say. If you're considering whether there is room for the third ice cream or not, you know, whenever you feel fatigue, it's actually your body that only reached, let's say, 30% capacity. So if you're stuck at like 3 ice cream, realistically speaking, you can probably go for 10. Do you want to go for 10? I'm not sure about that, but yeah, I'm just here to bring you the daily motivational David Goggins quote. So I'm just gonna keep my bishop on g3 now. We have like actually we have a position where opponent couldn't capture any of our pawns. That's kind of funny in a way. It doesn't happen very often. We still have 8 pawns on the board, and I literally have 4 extra pawns, and all of my pieces are protected. There's a little bit of a conflict of interest here on the c-file. It's not like he has any concrete threats, but you wanna watch out. So I'm just gonna go queen e4. Basically sidestepping that idea, but I'm also actively looking for a tempo move. Like I could do queen e2, yeah, just go home like a good boy, but I prioritize a tempo move, which is queen e4. I don't go queen e6 because that gives him tempo move back. So I'm going queen e4, tempo move that doesn't allow him to go counter tempo. So this simple thing is, it's actually, you know, I feel like people don't talk about this mechanism enough, but yeah. Who thought that most of the best chess moves are, you know, have to be tempo? Okay, maybe I just sound like a crazy person that's trying to reinvent the wheel. I will take that. Okay, if you're telling me that, I will accept it. But yeah, I feel like from my experience coaching the low relo guys, they don't think enough in terms of tempo moves or concrete goals. So yeah, rook e8, targeting my queen. Can very well go to g4. Might as well pick a safer route now. Queen g4 is a bit nice in a way that it's creating this this pin. That's a nice thing about it. Could also play over there. But yeah, I'm gonna go for the pin. Expecting probably knight e5 where I can go for a trade. Yeah, just, you know, the more trades, the better. When you have 4 extra pawns. Next up, I could go rook ad1, and then we can slowly start marching down the pawns like e4, f4, e5. Yeah, get everyone connected. And yeah, okay, knight e5, as I said in the beginning. There's simply bishop capture. He cannot take with the rook because of the pin. He has to play a bit of an awkward rook capture. And then I was actually wondering whether this is a good time to play the move e4. Yet again, trying to capitalize on the pin. Additionally, there is simple move, yeah, rook d1, just protect the pawn, but e4, is it worth to force the queen trade? The problem is that we're gonna be left with a position where I'm gonna have 2 hanging pawns. So I feel like it's best first to secure the pawn and only then e4 if it's still like an opportunity. But honestly, it's very difficult to unpin, otherwise, yeah, the pawn starts pushing. So yeah, we should be able to just do e4 next. h5, trying to solve that issue. I could go queen h3, keeping the pin. I could also go a bit deeper, staying in touch with this rook. I've got that rook's phone number. I don't want to lose it. I may just stick to g6. Also, I can play queen g3, raising the other rook. So I want that. Huh. Could also do queen c4 with the idea to play queen c7 and offer a queen trade. Yeah, problem with such a good position is that it's difficult to choose. Okay, I'm gonna go queen where? Yeah, let me keep the pin. You know what? I like my pin. I'm a simple man. I see a pinned rook, I'm gonna keep it pinned. And then, yeah, maybe rook d4, e4 idea still. And yeah, the way he goes there, now it's still d7. So I want to use this pawn pretty much, yeah, as a depth trap. Yeah, like the banks. This pawn on d7 is gonna keep this queen forever in depth. So he's not gonna be escaping. He has to watch out for the pawn. And now, yeah, I think we just infiltrate as far as possible. Rook d6. You know, this queen on d8 is like the typical college depth. So, yeah. Cannot move because the pawn promotes. I'm just gonna double up, bring the rooks, and yeah, make sure we overprotect this guy, and then his pieces are just gonna be stuck, and we should be able to find a breakthrough easily. Not even that afraid of e4. I mean, of rook f2 because there's queen h5. But I'm probably just playing f3. There's no reason to risk it. No reason to risk it here because we already have the biscuit. So for extra pawns, it's actually more of like a cake. For extra pawns can hardly be called a biscuit. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, he has to move the rook. Expecting, okay, rook f6 actually hangs the pawn. Tough to predict what he's gonna play. If rook g5, I get to infiltrate. But yeah, he goes there. Yeah, I should be able to just do f4. I could also play rook e6. Although that gives him... okay, it looks like it gives him rook d7, but I'll let you pause the video and think about why that is not a good move. We have a nice little detail to finish the game. Okay, assuming you pause the video, the reason is takes and then rook h6 idea. No, we pick up the queen on the discovery. And yeah, if he doesn't take, the threat is to go there. And now that he took, the threat is to go queen e8. And now pause the video for the final exercise. Okay, how do we break through? It looks like it's complicated, but now one move will clarify the situation completely. Queen e7 just deflecting, so we can promote, winning a rook in the process. Cannot be too bad either. Opponent may try to play for the flag. No problem. I have 20 seconds. Should be pretty comfortable, I would say. I'm gonna push this pawn. I'm just gonna push the pawns together. It's nice that he doesn't really have any checks. Okay, I'm gonna get him in the second depth trap. Man, this queen is jumping from one depth to the other. That's pretty crazy. It's like a vacation depth right now. Jesus. Okay. Rook d7 about to happen next so that he doesn't have check on c5. Cover that square. Okay, taking and then getting a new queen. Alright. 14 seconds left. Should be able to do this. Also, we played 40 moves, and remember that my opponent never managed to take any of my pawns whatsoever. The only reason why we lost 2 pawns is because we promoted 2 queens. And I'm not joking. We promoted the d pawn and we promoted the e pawn. Other than that, he didn't get to talk much with our pawns whatsoever. Which is honestly pretty wild on a 40 moves game. But yeah, what can I say? It's just the power of the Jubava London. So, queen e5 and gonna be getting back ranker somewhere. Little stairs. And still, he was one move away from collecting one of my pawns. Not today, son. Not today. Okay. It felt like always under control, but let's just have a game review. Not sure it was everything ultra accurate, but yeah, apparently we got 95. Okay, I think everything was pretty clear. Hope you guys enjoyed this little technique, how to convert with 100 extra pawns. And with that being said, I think we can move on to the following game. All right, everybody, we are back with another white game, and I guess we must be facing somebody from Indonesia. There it is, of course. Okay, maybe I should just travel there and start playing games in real life, because I get all kinds of opponents from this country. And okay, so opponent started with e6. Already pretty much a bit of a weird sign. But then after I played the move knight c3, the sort of Jobava introductory move, looking for perhaps expanding in the center with e4, he plays d5. And suddenly when you see d5, as I say, generally within the first 2 to 3 moves, that will enable the Jobava London. Now, don't get me wrong, having he played something weird like d6, then we can no longer play a Jobava London, like placing the bishop over there would be a pretty, okay, not mistake, but inaccuracy, because the bishop would be staring into a pawn crystal. Like the pawn on d6, it's gonna be defended by another pawn. So that's why the bishop on f4 would be bad there. Unlike in the scenario where d5 is placed and it's played, and then the bishop goes to f4, and it's actually a very active piece. So we get starting position, and already we can see that it's a Jobava London, where our opponent's light square bishop is trapped inside the pawn chain, which means we are going to develop as follows. e3, bishop d3, move order matters, remember it in this way. Knight f3, castle, look for ways to break with e4, generally meeting c5 with dc. Now, having he played the bishop to f5 earlier, yeah, a setup like that, remember we try to always storm the bishop when it goes outside the pawn chain. But bishop inside the pawn chain, yeah, e3, bishop d3, simple setup. And okay, opponent has many moves. Knight f6, with the dark square bishop could go d6, b4, or e7. Yeah, these are gonna be the squares. You could also play c5. I'm gonna start with bishop d3 and let him decide. Goes bishop to b4, and here it's why it's important to have this bishop d3 move, because notice that knight e4 is not really such a big and scary threat anymore, because the bishop can eliminate it. And we just go knight f3, preparing to castle and expecting c5 at any moment. That's a typical move for this rating range, but he goes knight b to d7. Okay, this is an interesting position. So let's just say having he played a line with the bishop on e7, yeah, just imagine bishop was on e7. We can try to pause the video and think about what is the key middle game move to get the fiesta started. So yeah, you can, let's say, bring the disco ball to the party. So the key move would be to go e4, and after the e4, knight takes. You're basically trading a pawn from e3 for one central pawn of our opponent, and we get the superiority in the center. However, e4 right now, because of the bishop on b4, that allows bishop c3, and then we're gonna lose a piece. So it's important to pretty much clarify the situation on b4, let's say with the bishop on b4. So let's see, is he interested to take? Is he interested to go back? Like if he goes back, for instance, then we can, let's say, push e4. If he goes bishop a5, we can break the pin and then chase the bishop, or just break the pin and push, just to get rid of that bishop c3 intermezzo. And when he take, of course, now we get what I like to call the Colosseum pawn structure. Kind of see where the comparison comes from. Like, Colosseum, it's a bit messed up, but it's still nice. So that's why we love it. And the main threat while you're playing with these double pawns in the Colosseum is that if black does something normal, yeah, let's say rook e8 or some random moves, you want to use these pawns to basically dynamite black's center. So if you remove from the board the c pawns for the enemy central pawns, Stokefish already evaluates this position as a +1 advantage, which honestly it's close to like completely winning, just because you have the capacity of controlling the center with your pawns. Now, my opponent goes for the right plan. He's trying to trade one of his side pawns for my central pawn. But the issue is that this has a concrete drawback. And you can try to pause the video and find the move that's very annoying for my opponent to deal with. Okay, other than that, c4 is nice move to, let's say, take and push and get playable game. But in this position, the best move, c5, the drawback is that d6 square has been weakened. Now we have bishop d6 with dc, and it looks pretty weird, but we should be cashing in a pawn. Opponent's gonna definitely have some compensation after we go dc, because then he's gonna get to push in the center. So we go dc and he's gonna have e5. But yeah, we need to think for a bit. Yeah, in general, I think we should have the advantage. Yeah, so I don't think taking with the bishop is anything. He just has queen a5. So just double checking my memory. This has to be good, right? Like I've seen this position before. I'm not making it up right now. Maybe the way I seen this before was with the pawn on a7, where bishop b5 was an interesting move. Play for this. But yeah, now we have to deal with this threat of my opponent going e4, which is honestly not easy. Okay, bishop e2 would be one way to avoid the direct fork. He could try to continue with queen a5. Yeah, that's another idea, to double attack and insist on winning back the pawn. Do we have an answer to that? I could also consider knight d2 with similar reason to avoid the fork, and on queen a5 I could go knight b3, saving the pawn, and if he takes queen c3 at least, the queen feels a little bit more in danger, but I don't really see a way to really attack it. The queen is in danger, but we don't have the final attacking move. Nevertheless, I'm gonna go for knight d2. Feels like the best option here. It's a bit of a strange position, not gonna lie. But okay, also maybe interesting idea that we have to play for e4. But yeah, he pushes, only move, bishop back. I don't think it's much of a choice over there. And okay, queen a5. Targeting the pawn. I mean, targeting both pawns. So, do I want to play c4? He goes knight c5. Knight b3. Forcing him to take. Take with a c pawn. Undouble the pawns. dc, take with a bishop. He gets to pin me along the d file, so I'm not sure. Initially, I was playing for this knight b3 idea, and I think I'm going to stick through to what I told you in the beginning. And yeah, I had this position in mind. It's very messy, like it's not an easy one to figure it out, but I knew like once we get bishop d6, we should be slightly better in a messy position. So I'm just trying to figure it out as we go. But yeah, I imagine queen d4 cannot be such a bad move. Queen c2 feels super risky for him, although yeah, it's a double attack, so maybe I wanna treated more seriously. But knight d2 and his queen really feels like should be getting trapped. This move just doesn't feel like a move that should be working. And okay, if we force queen d4 and then e d4, improving the pawn structure, that should be strategically winning with bishop pair and my opponent struggling to finish development. But yeah, queen c2, it just feels like knight d2. And how do you bring the queen out? How do you develop the bishop? Many questions that don't have a clear answer. And knight d2 also has a concrete threat of going rook c1, and the queen feels like it's doomed. So he has to enter the passive position. Yeah, okay. I can take with the knight, but that allows him knight e5, and at least he finishes development somehow. But e d4 feels even better. So connecting these pawns, maybe c4 idea, and also rook b1, knight a5 idea to pressure on b7. Oh man. Somehow it feels like we're able to figure this out little by little. Okay, he wants knight c6. So I may start with this move. So knight c6, at least I can take and he doesn't get to pressure me on d4. And now we have a target on a6, like rook b1, rook b6, potentially good move. Yeah, I think we just do it this way. If e3, I think maybe f3, just to stop knight e4 ideas. So I want to have that pawn, and the rook a7 is pretty weird. Rook b6 infiltrating should be good. Eyeballing both pawns. This move as well on the cards. Yeah, bishop d7. Can we take? If I take immediately, he gets to take, and then rook a8 wins the a3 pawn. So maybe I'm just going to bring my rook in. It's like this pawn is going to be a permanent weakness. It's not running away. And I should just look for a way to collect it and allow the least amount of counterplay possible, which I think it's now because I can use the second rook as well. Plus, I can also use this idea to trade rooks. And I think honestly the endgame should be winning with a bishop pair, because I don't see an easy way for him to stop this very simple plan of bishop b7 and just push them pawns. And yeah, I mean, if opponent doesn't find some crazy counterplay, still e3 can be met by f3, I imagine, and e2, king f2. But this one unfolds quite nicely now. a4, bishop b7. I mean, what to do to stop the pawn? Not clear. Shit. Is he in time? Wait. a6, bishop c8. Wait, so what if I do maybe just h3? If bishop c8 I take. Yeah, so I have to, I'm not queening immediately, but I'm winning all the other pawns. So the endgame is completely winning. Yeah, take this one. 30 seconds left. It's gonna be a little bit of a race. Picking up this one as well. f4 support e5. En passant. En passant and a croissant. Okay, so let's do it this way. Bishop d3, push a7, and then bring the bishop to the diagonal. That feels the easiest. Oh, taking that. Come on, opponent. You know, we've got this one. And quite a deserved victory, I would say. Man, we had to navigate some very muddy waters. Even more dirty than the Sena River. Man, that was... I mean, I am estimating that after bishop d6 we should be slightly better. However, it's a bit of a niche spot, so I don't have much experience over there. It's quite rare that it happens, honestly. Very few players that go bishop takes on c3, yeah, entering the Colosseum. very few players actually follow it up with a c5 break. Most often they just play something passive and then you're able to use that double barrel with c4, take on d5 and then c4 again. But okay, opponent resigns. Okay, let's have a look. Game review. I don't know if this was any good, but apparently, sometimes you just end up playing a 95. Very interesting. Of course. Welcome back, everybody. Getting a game against the 2100 opponent. Just gonna be doing a quick background check. Former 2200 and 100 games. Kinda sassy account. I don't know. Let's just make a few moves and we're probably gonna get a hang of it pretty quickly. Whether this game is a real game or not. Gonna be playing Jobava London, get starting position. We see the Slav move. So yeah, we can basically split the Jobava London between lines with bishop outside the pawn chain or bishop inside the pawn chain. If bishop inside the pawn chain, you always go bishop d3, knight f3, castle, and then look for e4 pawn push, bringing the disco ball to the parry. And on bishop f5, yeah, f5 or g4, whenever he tries to have active light square bishop, we want to go for the pawn storm. So, yeah, gonna be playing f3 and start launching them pawns, expecting e6. Also, queen b6 could be a move if he's weird. Also, h5 is playable, but then bishop d3 and normal play. Yeah, we see e6, most common move. h4, threatening to trap the bishop, and h5 should be the best here in the Slav. Yeah, there we have it. In case of h6, plays pretty similar. You go bishop d3, recapture with the queen to prepare long castle, and then this knight goes to e2. And once you have connected the rooks, you want to go for g5, hitting the knight. That is going to be the main source of attack. However, on h5, yeah, he's threatening to take, so we have to push in the beginning, attack the knight, and knight d7 is what most people play. Also, knight g8 is an interesting possibility, but quite rare. And yeah, on knight d7, I'm gonna play the most, let's say, simplified approach. Bishop to d3 against most normal people is gonna work. Technically, it's a little bit inferior against the Slav position. It's actually best to do knight h3 here, and then do like bishop g3, knight f4. That's what the computer prefers the most against the Slav combined with h5. But yeah, from my experience, most of the black players don't know how to punish. Still, I can't get a tell whether my opponent is cheating or not, but we'll see. g6 is a good move. So the point is, white wants to play g6 and then kind of mess up black's king's safety. So this is important. And yeah, I think we're gonna start with knight e2. Knight e2 or castle, both are playable. And the best setup is to do knight b6, knight a6. So I don't know. If he does that, it's probably gonna be a sassy game. If he goes knight a6, yeah, it's sadly not much I can do. So just castle, and if knight a6 played quickly, yeah, GG. Black is slightly better, but okay, bishop g7, more of like a normal move where, yeah, this one actually makes me kind of hopeful. So I'm gonna go e4. Now, just a quick mention, having he played knight c4, I believe a pretty nice way to deal with such a knight is to not play b3, because that allows bishop a3 check, and then king b1, knight b2, but to prepare that by going knight b1, and then b3, and once the knight has to go back, then you get a pretty reasonable position. Yeah, now I think e4 or king b1, these are the moves. I think I'm gonna get started with e4. I don't see a reason why not to. King b1 also useful in the future to play for bishop c1. Okay, so do I want to go king b1? This is a very important kind of position. Because, okay, it may feel like, let's say, a lot of players get stuck against specifically the h5 structure because you don't have a clear way to break. But the key idea that you need to know is that we need to make a positional piece sack to open up the attack. So something like knight g3, knight e2, combined with knight takes on h5, pawn takes, and then you bring the other knight to g3, yeah, to take, and then you play e5, knight f6. You can just get completely crashing attack like that. It's one of the most common themes. Am I in time? It feels like I should be in time, yeah? I could also take cautious measures. King b1, bishop c1 first. But yeah, I think like knight g3, we should be ready to go for it. But let's see. In the meantime, yeah, I mean, my opponent could try some knight d7, e5. But normally, it shouldn't be quick enough. So knight b4, yeah, I think I like to start with a3 or knight a6 to stop that from happening. And I have simple plan. This move. Okay, what to do on knight c4 though? That's a pretty important question that we need to answer. But yeah, it just goes queen e7 and yeah, I think having he played knight c4 considering the same idea as previously, knight b1 and then b3. Knight c4 b3 right away doesn't work because he takes and then he has knight b4, strong intermezzo. So knight c4, yeah, probably knight b1 and then b3. It's a nice combo to have. But queen e7, aren't we just in time to get the crashing position? Knight e2, I want to take and play knight g3. He could attempt to open things up with e5, but yeah, normally, from my experience, black is going to be slightly worse after that. Yeah, maybe she should try to do like c5. Okay, c5, trying to open up path for this bishop. Okay, so let's think about it for a little bit. It's about to get crazy. I have e5 as a move. Try to lock in the position and the enemy bishop, but my intuition tells me, yeah, we might as well die trying. We're gonna go knight takes on h5. And then knight g3. And sure, like black has bishop d4, but the problem is that the bishop is gonna be a bit hanging. Like he's not gonna have c4 because the bishop drops. So let's see. If I can take e5, knight f6 is GG. Because then we force him to take and we open up the g file and infiltrate with the rook. And we get too big of an attack. But okay, maybe he has some interesting way to escape. Also, still, I have to say my opponent played pretty well. I don't have an idea whether my opponent is cheating or not yet. So, sacrificing a piece against the computer. Normally, you know, if I learned something as a kid after playing the Fritz engine, is that whenever Fritz allowed you to sacrifice a piece, it's a bad sacrifice. So, yeah, we'll figure it out in a moment. Okay, so takes is a move. Obviously, he wants knight c5 to play after to attack my queen and get tempo. So for that, I could maybe consider e5 and knight c5. I have queen d4. Yeah, I like e5. So knight h5 is not running anywhere and it's still part of the plan. Curious though whether my opponent's gonna be in time with rook c8 and some quick attack. What's actually interesting about these positions is that if my opponent is a bad cheater and uses a weaker engine, the weaker engines tend to underestimate white's attack. But yeah, okay, rook c8 is sneaky because after knight c5, I cannot take on d4 anymore as I would love to because there is gonna be a fork. So maybe I want to sidestep that fork with king b1. Yeah, looks good to me. For now, I feel comfortable, but I might be missing some good move that's about to happen. So might get coolered in the next few moves. But yet again, I'm more or less a happy camper if I get to take and then play knight f6. That is dream position completely. How to stop it as black? Yeah, I mean, not clear. So knight c4, yeah, knight c4 is a move, but what is the threat? Taking on e5 is not like a real threat, so I'm just gonna take. Knight c5, not a threat, yeah, I can still take. Okay, knight e5, yeah. I'm pretty sure we should be completely winning, yeah. Maybe my opponent wasn't actually cheating at all because I'm getting a winning position. So, apologies if I wrongly accused you. But, yeah. It's just above this level in rapid chess, I get to face a lot of cheaters while trying to record these videos. So, I'm just being cautious. So, knight e5, okay, so I want to do queen d4, right? There is no discovery because of the mate, but queen e5 is there rook c4. That's potentially the only thing that bothers me. It bothers me because it gives him a tempo move. So, additionally, I could do queen e2, attack the knight, but then knight g6. Wait, do we have a queen sack potentially? Like queen e5, bishop takes. I'm down a million pieces, but somewhat threatening knight f6. No, I don't think I want to go down that route. Also, there is simple move, bishop e5, that shouldn't be underestimated. Like bishop e5, and then... then knight f6, yeah. Bishop takes, pawn takes, I tagged queen, I went queen, yeah. This is it. Okay, simple win. Just... You see that before you decide to do anything, you want to check whether it's simple win, yeah, forcing move. So takes and then a check, and this is just simple win. I'm winning the queen, otherwise it's mate. So very simple attack, yeah. Notice this is big threat, queen is attacked, we're winning queen. Just easy game now. Right, okay. I completely forgot about the fact that this is a move somehow. I don't know what the heck is wrong with me, but still, rook g5, it's a move to push, so... I don't know, we might still get a good attack, but... This was not planned. Okay, queen h6. Queen h6 is good defense, yeah, only move maybe to stop rook h5. We still have plenty of attack, and the knight is out of the game. I have a genuine threat of check and then queen h7 mate. So yeah, queen h6 had to be played. Now, how do we pile up more pressure? The problem with takes is that there is f6. And then I don't see a follow-up. Maybe I have rook g1 simply in that position. But then rook g8 he goes. Do I have... yeah, maybe this one is clever. Rook g8. What do we do? Takes, there's gonna be f6. But then there's gonna be queen f6. Holy smokes. Wait, so which one? This or that? I can't wrap my head around there. f6. So if I do this move, f6 right away. Damn. Take rook dg1. Okay, so I'm gonna do it like this, I guess. I don't know. Oh man, I got so excited for a second. I saw a brilliant idea to win with a queen sack, but not sure that's actually gonna happen. And this move doesn't feel like making a threat, but it's also just... This doesn't have a concrete threat, but it's just difficult to play for my opponent. Yeah, I could consider even f4 with a simple threat of playing queen f3 and winning the queen. It feels like maybe we should have enough at least for a perpetual. Just because the knight is out of the game, like logically we should have compensation for that fact, but... I don't know, man. I have trust issues on my calculation. Okay, so rook g8. And we're gonna get it. Watch out. check, f6. And now the brilliant move. Pause the video and try to find it. Queen f6. This is so pretty. This is so pretty. I'm crying. I'm not crying. You're crying. Look at this. Queen f6. He cannot take because rook h5. Man. No way this actually happened in the game. That just feels like... Man. That is just my deepest, darkest... Not deepest and darkest. It's not dark at all. It's my nicest fantasy ever. We see it on the board and yeah, simple mate now. Queen f7. Check and then pick up g8. Wow. Okay. Was this actually any good? Also, what if my opponent was a cheater and we just managed to mate a weaker engine? That would be pretty nice. Okay. Thanks everybody for making it this far in the video. Now, the best part about my upcoming Jobava course is that you don't know when it's gonna happen or if it's gonna happen. We may get invaded by aliens in the meantime. And for such difficult circumstances, this thing will definitely help you defend. You will be able to hide in a bunker and then start studying chess 24/7. So, alexbanzea.com for the newsletter. Now, get out of here.